right, I'm going to call it to order though so we can get started. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm going to call the September 23rd, 2020 Capital Improvement Planning Committee meeting to order. Pursuant of Governor Baker, we are meeting for Zoom, and a copy of Grafton's public meeting remote participation guidelines is available online. We'll start with roll call. Greg Marr.
Here.
Sue Robbins.
Here.
Amy Marr.
Here.
Pauline Roy here. Awesome. So the first thing on our agenda is to review the meeting with the select board. They did update our charge. They accepted the charge as we submitted, so that's great. I believe everybody has signed it, so I think that's our new charge. And they are going to sponsor our bylaw, and it's in the warrant.
Yep.
So that is tomorrow. We are meeting with CPC to discuss the bylaw. So
Yep.
how does everybody feel about that?
Did we get any questions from them? How did that come about, I guess is my question.
I just got an email from John Stevens at inviting CIPC in to discuss the bylaw.
Okay.
So they didn't give us any heads up as to what they wanted to discuss.
Just the
So,
bylaw, right. But I still have my notes from when we, can you see that?
yep.
Okay, so these were some of their concerns from last fall town meeting. CPC
Right.
did not have time to vet the bylaw, so hopefully that's no longer the case because it's been almost a year and with some minor tweaks, so that should be okay. They said they had a state authority review it and it would not be in favor. So I guess we could ask about that.
Are we superseding their autonomy for granting projects?
I do not believe we are.
I don't think we are either.
So at our goals meeting, Carter did mention wanting to tweak the bylaw a little further and add some language in there that nothing would be funded unless it was included in the capital plan. But I think we all intentionally left that out so that we could include things like CPC. We did, and CPC has their own funding. It's not like it would matter if they made it in or not.
Yep.
We talked about the threshold and we decided to keep it at 10,000, and that was kind of CPC's concerns was just there. So hopefully we'll be able to talk it out with them. I remember last year talking it out with them and thought we were all on the same page and being really surprised at town meeting. So hopefully we can get the surprises out of the way tomorrow.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see because it'll be the newest member who's going to be the loudest.
Yeah, if they're new, they probably have questions, so hopefully we can knock them out. So it'll be myself, Sue, Greg, and Matt at tomorrow's meeting.
That's good because I think it'll be Brooke who'll be the one that will be asking a lot of questions, which is fine.
Yeah, love questions.
Where are we on the agenda?
For tonight.
No, sorry.
So they thought they might be able to say 8 o'clock, but they weren't fully sure. They didn't kind of live to it. So I'm just showing up for the whole meeting. And
So because I saw the agenda and it said around 8, but then I thought that they don't always follow the agenda.
Right.
If it is 8, I can actually get on. I got to go look in my email, but I don't think I have an invite to that. I might.
You don't. You don't. I've had to give them lists of people who said they would attend. So Sue doesn't even have an invite yet. She just found out she could go tonight. So if you want, I'll tell them you can come so you get it.
Because the I didn't think it was going to be at 8. Like if it's going to be late in the agenda, then I can hop on. I just have an open house for Katie's school, and I think it's 6:30 to 8:30, but it's not going to run that whole time.
Yeah.
So
the other thing I was thinking too is that all of the attendees have the ability to be upgraded to panelist. I know everybody's, but Joanne's on that meeting, so she should have the ability to help them navigate that if they needed to.
We are number 4 on the agenda. Call to order, public hearing, community preservation plan update, Whitney Park project, and then CIPC.
the heck is Whitney Park?
You will have a copy of the charge with you in case they want to see that too.
I guess, I don't know why they would want to discuss our charge with us and not the select board. And just for the record, Jeremy Graves has joined the meeting at 8:18.
Hey, everyone. Sorry for my tardiness.
You know, man.
Well, I'm just saying, I think they're gonna, just in case they jump all over the place.
Well,
Yeah, no, it's a smart idea.
It's not that much different than what they had written, because it was Greg and Brooke.
Is
Craig
that,
wrote that.
is discussing our charge on their agenda, or is it just the bylaw?
Just the bylaw, but that doesn't mean that they'll segue into it. They could, I'm not saying for sure, but they might.
Yep, nope, always be prepared. That's good. So
Yeah.
Jeremy, just what we're talking about now is that the select board updated our charge and they're sponsoring our bylaw, and tomorrow we are invited to CPC to discuss the bylaw. So we're just kind of running over a game plan for that and what we're not entirely sure. We know they were upset last time, but we don't really know what to prepare for. So any thoughts?
I think we emphasize that we're not getting in their way at all. We're just asking them to share information. So it's all for the better of the town. Hold hands, sing songs, things of that nature.
But yeah.
Excellent. All right. Yep.
Do you have, so because I missed the select board, did you do a presentation to select board?
On the bylaw?
Yeah.
Yeah, not this week though. It was like a
Election day.
two weeks.
Just
Yeah.
wondering I'm just wondering if you have that handy in case they say, if they pull the whole, oh, do you want to give a presentation? You can be like, yes, I do.
Sure. Yeah. Good idea. The circle graph.
That's basically
Maureen got excited about that, so I will have the circle graph ready.
Circle graph is
Yeah,
awesome.
well,
The circle of life.
Yes. Circle of
Awesome.
capital.
Well, I mean, Carter looked at this and he didn't see anything significant that he objected to.
No,
Correct?
in fact, he wanted, like I said, he wanted to add to it. So I think we intentionally left it out, that we didn't want to have things not be funded if they weren't included.
Right.
And that was a suggestion he wanted to add in. So I think we'll probably just leave it out though for now. And if we ever want to go back, we can go back.
Yep.
Um,
Change the amount if, we can always change things.
right. And as we learned at select board last night, bylaws are easily amendable.
They're working documents. They're always working documents, so. If they weren't, we'd be in trouble.
Oh, we wouldn't have a Bill of Rights, would we?
No,
All right.
I was going through it and I couldn't think of anything that would be such a stumbling block.
Yeah, I think if we can just stress to them, it's just one place for residents to come and have all of the information. It is not going to hinder anything. I
Right.
understand that they might not know, but a lot of their applications for grants need to be in by July. So their timeline should fall in line. I know they might say it won't, but we're just trying to work together. We're not trying to work against them or hinder them in any way. So hopefully we can get that across to them.
Yeah, and nothing we do or say as an advisory committee to the select board and town administrator is going to have any effect on them whatsoever. We're
Right.
just asking them for information to include in a report that's being made available to the town.
It's a very good, succinct way to put that.
Greg, write that down. You can say it tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, just like that,
Recorded.
Jeremy.
Perfect. All right, so we can move on. The next thing I have on our agenda for tonight is the submission form department heads are going to use to submit capital projects. So Carter and I had a call yesterday and he reviewed the submission form we currently use and he thought we could do better. So I told him last December, CIPC met with the select board and we actually gave an example of what we would like to see. And I was able to pull it up for him and he really liked it. But I don't think us as a newer members have all put eyes on it. So I'll share that now and let you guys see it and see if you want to make any tweaks to that. I'm gonna get that.
While you're doing that, I'll just mention that it came up last night at school committee. I kind of gave a heads up that there might be a new format this year because Jay, he does it in basically the addendum to the budget is our capital plan. And he's got a format that he's been using and there's pictures and stuff, which is great. But if we're going to change it, I promised I'd get him an update tonight on what we're planning to do. Aw.
Well, he could still do that just for his budget book.
Well, I think he will, but I think what's going to happen is he's going to pull out the stuff that's already done, the projects that we did already, because we're done.
Yep.
Bump
I don't
everything.
think that's the one you wanted to share.
No, it was. Do you see the right one now, though?
We see
No.
read to self.
You still
Self.
see read to self. That's a bummer. All right.
Work with students. That's so cute.
I'm a first grade teacher now. It's the stuff I got to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he would do it for the budget book anyway, but if he's going to add anything new, it needs to be in the new format before the old format, because this form is going to be due before the budget book, right? I mean,
I
But
know
I
you're
thought-
talking to me, but I don't see
No,
you
I'm
right
talking
now.
to Sue.
Sorry.
I'm talking to Sue, but I said, look, if you need help, like just copying and pasting content into the new form, like let me know. I'll help with that because I can do that. But who knows?
Say that again about the form that for, what were you saying?
I
Amy, about the form being ready for Jay?
Yeah, so the form is going to be due sooner than the budget book.
Right.
So before he formats any new projects for the budget book, he's going to need to fill out the form anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, a lot of it's the same. There might be a little bit more. Oh, I do like this.
Thank you. So that came directly from the DLS has a planning guide. If you guys haven't read this yet, it's like 12 or 13 pages long. I'll send you guys a link to that tonight. And
I
with-
always go to I always go there for a lot of information.
love it. Love the DLS. So, and within that guide, there's clickable links to forms like this. So I opened this form and basically copied it and made it for Grafton, but it's super similar.
It's kind of the form we used a long time ago when I was first on finance committee with the departments. They would put the description down, the benefits of the project, when it's going to be completed. The only thing that they didn't put down was that they had a 5-year plan. Is that in here?
There's multi-year and phase blank of blank.
Yeah, but there was a whole, and then they had sections of the 5-year plan, and then they filled out the 5-year plan in each of these forms.
So see at the bottom there, estimated cost by fiscal year. So I think that could be, I should probably update those so that
Can you-
What's that, Amy?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay.
Sounded like you did. So
No, that was me saying
Ah.
to scroll up just a little bit.
Oh, sure. I can try to make it bigger.
Yeah, see, that helps.
Wait, what did I do? Oh, there it is.
Is that good?
That's
So
better.
this is-
I can read it better.
So they can, the forms are fill outable, the fields? They
Yep.
can type in the field, okay. All of them,
yeah, this is in Word.
okay. Oh, it's in Word?
Now, what did Carter want to change? You said,
So he likes this.
yeah,
So it would be changed to this.
okay,
So he just wanted to make sure we gave our approval and blessing to say, yes, this is what we would like to use. In addition to this, he wants information to send with this to the department heads on how to fill it out, which again, that comes right from the guide. The guide has like a 4-page, this is how you fill it out. So I will just copy that and send it right along. And so we're not really inventing anything. We're just taking templates and applying them.
I really like this because I think it's going to give the department heads more to think about because they have to answer all these questions.
Yep. I'm gonna change this now while I'm thinking about it.
So the CPA stuff,
Yep.
so they're gonna have to fill this out for each of their projects.
I would say so, yeah, the ones that they plan to fund anyway. And I think the ones that they're still paying for, yeah.
Okay. They may not want to do that.
Yeah,
No, I
I
understand.
Okay,
was going to say because once they fund it, that's the end of their responsibility to it. They no longer own the project.
yeah, that was gonna be my question.
So
Like,
I think this is saying, what are you as a department head going to request from CPA? Not what has CPA granted.
right. But I'm saying CPA doesn't have to fill out anything because
No.
once they fund it, that's it.
Yeah, CPA doesn't have anything to
Right.
fund this.
And chances are,
oh, you know what it is? I'm getting confused between CPA and CPC.
They're the CPC is the committee that oversees CPA.
right. CPA is the act, and the CPC committee is the one who oversees the money. And
So
how
would other departments then use those fields?
Yeah, so like the library, for example, I think they had like lead lined windows that were old that CPA funds could go to. I'm just kind of reaching, I can't remember
That was the
exactly.
question. Okay. Because it seemed to me that those fields were there and there was the purposes, like it just seemed very specific. Okay, I understand now. Thank you.
But everybody's good with this, so I can give Carter the green light and start sending that. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
So and it also sounds like planning is going to be our support staff for this to try to help with that. So they'll be sending it out to all of the department heads and collecting it all and getting it to us. So the goal is to get this out to them as quick as possible and get everything back by October 30th. And then we'll have all of November and have a deliverable for December 1st, which is a very, very lofty goal.
You mean the planning department?
Yes. What did I say? Did I say it wrong?
Well, you said planning, but I was just wondering why planning? I mean, why are they having this all going to all the departments?
That is a Carter question.
They have their own stuff to fill out as well, but why did he put them in charge of that?
Because we don't have an ATA.
Well, that's probably true, but
It's probably
all right,
all.
if that's what he wants to do and planning agreed to it, then
I wouldn't say that it's a permanent change. I think it's just a change for this year. Because, I mean, there's just no staff.
true.
I do feel like this year is fluid, but I do think he also said in other communities he's worked at, planning was involved in CIPC. So I don't know if he's just pulling from past experience and applying it as well.
And it could be different next year with a new TA. So, all right. Would it be inappropriate of me to ask to have that form a little sooner so I can give it to Jay and get him started?
Oh no, I can send that form to you right now.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, you got
And
it.
he's gonna be reaching out to you, Colleen, if he hasn't already, about the energy audit. Because they had, I don't know if you're in the loop, but we had an energy audit.
Oh,
And the presentation was today, and apparently the list of projects is interesting.
oh.
And he needs to touch base with you and probably us and school committee. And so he asked me for your contact information. I gave it to him.
Yeah, cool.
I gave him the special phone number.
Was the energy project interesting?
He used the word interesting. That's what he said. I have no additional information
I
at this
wonder
time.
what the energy audit said because Honeywell had parts of that for the schools.
Well, I think the purpose of it is to try to figure out how to break some of those bigger energy related projects down, like the middle school, right? We've had that on the capital list for years and the cost just goes up and up. 1.2 million was the last I saw.
Right.
So being able to partner with this company and, make some deals and get some money and, start to chip away at that, because we're never going to get $1.2 million for that. Like that would be our entire capital allotment for 2 years.
Right.
So it's just, we can't forego other projects in favor of that, which is why it's stuck around for so long.
Can you get an energy grant or anything?
Well, that was kind of what we were trying. We tried that and it's just too big. It's just too big. And I talked to David Moradian about, the state really needs to have some kind of grant for these old buildings that have these old HVAC systems. We could save so much money, and do kind of like a pay it forward thing where you help us fix our HVAC and we pay you back with the money we save in energy costs, something like that. It exists for other types of organizations. It does not exist for schools.
Isn't that interesting?
But, you know, then COVID hit, so. Yeah. Super great timing.
So what we need is solar panels on all the buildings.
And we've already got solar panels on all the buildings we can put solar panels on as a district. They're all done.
All the schools have them?
All the schools that can have them, yes.
Ah, why can't the other ones?
The roofs need to be redone.
Ah, okay.
And weren't
So-
there some electrical infrastructure issues too? Or are those all been resolved now?
That was Millbury Street. That's been resolved.
Okay.
Yep, Millbury Street
Yeah,
was done.
because if you need the roof repair, they won't put solar up.
We're not going to risk it. I mean,
Well, no, I mean, that's just kind of the guidelines they give you.
oh, yeah.
To
yeah.
redo your roof first before they put panels. So,
So the big school side capital items are the HVAC at GMS, the roofs at, I think it's South Grafton and North Street. And those are even portioned out as multi-year projects, sections of roofs. It's still big,
yeah.
you know, it is. But now we're going to have tents, so we don't need roofs, right? We don't need buildings because COVID. Anyway.
They'd be able to, we could just be nomads. We'll just go from field to field and, you know.
As long as there's Wi-Fi in those fields.
Yep. Oh, wow. Did you see the kids sitting on the sidewalk by Taco Bell getting their Wi-Fi for school? That was sad. Anyway, so moving on.
So the next would be discussing a possible scoring system. That's something we need to try to get in place before November 1st. How we want to do this, we don't have something in place. Peter has volunteered to come in and go over how they did it years and years ago. So I think that would be good to have him come in and help us. Carter did share this with me as well as another idea we can do. I wonder if I can share screen with this. Can I share?
I know right off the top of any of this priority is that we just have to look at what state mandated, what we have to do. I mean, that has to be done first. So some things are just have to be done.
Yeah.
So he did say we were going to look at this capital planning upside down this year from bottom up. So
You guys see right now.
We can see Zoom. Zoom 5 is here. There we go.
Oh.
Can you see this?
yep.
Yep.
Ah, awesome. All right. So this is one example of how a community did it, Molten Borough, I guess. And these are some of the, I'll zoom in, you know, priority impact for the department, public health, useful life, and then they would score it over here. The department would score it, and then the committee would weigh it. Now, even as he explained it to me, he couldn't fully explain how to determine how to weigh it. But that community had an understood process, and you would multiply it and then ultimately get your total score down here. So a weight would be anywhere between 1 and 2. The departments were scoring their projects in each category 1 through 10. So this is just one way to do it. And then the second way he showed was down here. Might have to zoom out again. Same thing, different categories, but it's more of an A, B, C, D kind of thing. You know, is it mandatory or not mandatory? And you kind of score it over here. And then down at the bottom, it's like the number of A's times 8 and the number of B's, and that's going to get you your score. Personally, I liked this because it really wasn't subjective in the sense of I don't know how they weighed in the other one. This one's very...
Well, I like this one because this one includes the lifespan. Did the other one and the relevancy to it? I kind of like how they asked the questions.
Yeah, it's 10. It's just, it seems, this one just seemed clean and neat to me. This one seemed a little more complicated just because we didn't have useful life is up there, but Yeah, I agree with you, Sue. I was more partial to this one. So, but again, I think they had department heads fill this out in addition to. So I'm not sure if that's something that we should take the submission forms and fill this out themselves or include it with the submission forms. So what did you guys think?
Well, I guess it's a strange echo. I think if they're filling out that other form, that's their chance to make the case for the project. And they communicate everything we need to fill this out on that form. Having them fill out 2 forms to me, especially this year, especially now, just seems onerous. I mean, some of these departments school department's going to have 30, 40 projects. You know, the way that Jay has always done it is he's just numbered them and he's like, this is my ranking. Here you go. And then CIPC would just take it and they would do their ranking. And if, you know, obviously there would be communication and they would talk and work out any disagreement. But I don't know that we want to be putting this on department heads this year.
Yeah, and I can see at least 3 or 4 of these questions are already covered by things on that form. So I think we can probably handle most of this. And those that we're not sure about, we can
We'll ask more questions.
we'll ask them for questions about it.
Yeah, I agree with Amy. I don't think we should put this on to the department heads this year. Let's just let them get used to the new form that is coming out and see how effectively they fill that out, because some of them may not do it as well and we may have to help them along a little bit. And as Greg said, a lot of this stuff will be answered from that form, and whatever we need clarification on, we'll just call them in or text them and ask them more questions to it. So I do like this form, but I don't want to give it to them this year. We'll see. We may never have to give it to them if the other form is so explicit.
I kind of feel like this is our job, right? Like this is the core of our chart. And so if we're asking the department heads to do it, now we come back around to, well, what's the point of having a CIPC?
Right.
So I think we should do this. I don't know, Colleen, do you have a sense of, do CIPCs have the individual members fill these out? Individually?
I can tell
and then
you,
together?
my experience on CIPC is we have never graded and prioritized any projects. This will
Right,
be,
but I meant other towns. Like, how do they use this form?
I don't know. I honestly don't.
Do we all meet together and fill it out together? Do we split up the projects amongst the members and go over the form? Like, that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out now. Like,
So I think for us, and given our timeline, it's going to make sense to split it up. We're each going to get assigned a few departments. You'll get their submission forms. We'll grade them, and then we'll come back together and say, this is what I have. That's just going to that makes the most sense to me. I don't know about anybody else. But the next issue I have is, once we have the total weighted score, what are we going to want to do with that? How do we plug that in to an overall sheet for all of them? Like,
well,
let's say there's like 15 projects that all score 100. How do we determine?
if I can go back just for 1 second,
Sure.
it might actually be faster if, when we split these up, 2 people do each department.
Had the same thought.
And then we come in and we discuss. So, like, for example, if I did schools and you did schools, Colleen, we would have something to discuss and hash out, as opposed to one person saying, well, this is how I did this and this is how I did that. And then we can learn how to kind of work together on it. I just think that might be a better way to go about it. I don't know.
Well, I think if you do 2 people to each department, and those individuals do their own scoring,
Right.
is that what you're saying? And then
Yes.
come back and we try to find a medium?
Yes.
Okay.
Almost like subcommittees.
Yep.
So, but
That's for me.
I think the way that this is where the weighting comes in, right? As Sue said, is it at the top? I'm sorry. There's there's some missing. Like if you have 5 projects that have the same score and one is mandatory for legal compliance, that's number 1 of
Right,
that group.
right.
So I wonder, is this the order of weighting, for example? So let's say 5 projects, and I am not good at math, so Greg will fix this. 5 projects get the same score. One of them is mandatory, so that's number 1. 2 of them have outside funding, so they go 2, 3. And the rest of them, they have one of the other things, and they just we go that way. So you have the total score, but then you use this list as the ranking. And if we want to flip some of these around and say, well, maybe we want project lifespan to be number 2, that shows us how they're falling. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I noticed the weighting on the other sheet was really high. Or no, this one's the one. So it gives an A to a project that's 20 plus years and a D to a shorter term project. And I wonder, those
are just categories. I don't think those are rankings.
But so you
Oh,
score,
yeah,
right?
no, A gets more points. You're right.
Right. So it's penalizing the low hanging fruit, I guess is my point.
Oh, no, it's not how long it's going to take to do the project. How long will the project live once it's done?
Right.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Greg. I totally did
Well,
not.
A 20-year roof versus a 5-year shed.
A
Right.
school that takes 20 years to build. I'm thinking to myself, what? No. All right. That makes sense. Thank you. All right.
Brick.
Yeah. So I don't know what you guys think about the order. It's like order of operations, right? Like what is important to us right now?
Well, I think the order they have right now for mandatory and grants, if there's grants involved, those, I would keep it that way.
Public safety should probably be higher than 6.
Yes, I agree.
I agree too.
All right, so I'll start writing down the notes, and then maybe I can try to make our own version of this form, because we all agree we like this form versus the other one.
I agree.
Okay,
Yep.
and then I'll make a new one of this in our order, and I'll send it out to all of us. I'll send out the submission form, and I'll send the links to all those DLS sites, so we all have the same resources. And then we'll start. All right, so does everybody agree mandatory should be number 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Should have your clerk write this down.
Who's my clerk? Are you my clerk?
I'm
No.
your clerk. I'm taking minutes. So.
Okay.
Oh, please. Okay. Yeah, I agree with the first 2.
Yep.
Wait, so you want outside funding above public health and safety? I kind of viewed that as like a 2, like number 2, mandatory and then
Really?
public health and safety.
But if you could get a grant and get it done without costing the town, why not do that?
Cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's important, but just because it's paid for, does that outweigh another project that's going to impact public health and safety without it?
Yeah, because that one could also have a high impact on public safety, in which case that they're tied the same way, and it
Oh.
falls on the next one.
Yeah, I can be convinced that we can try it at number 2.
Is
I mean, I
everybody
can't-
else?
Although
And this might be fluid enough that for this year that we make some of these decisions as we're going through the process. So this is a rough order, and we'll use this as a rough order for tiebreakers, but it's not set in stone.
yeah, I agree.
Well, I know I've seen some in the past when I first saw CIPC, and some were very complicated and
Yeah.
as one of the gentlemen, Raul, worked for a corporation, and that's what he did for a living, prioritize their capitals. And I think one of the things that he had on there first was public safety was the number 1 issue, instead of putting it at 2.
Okay. So would you like to make that number 1 and then mandatory number 2?
No, mandatory is absolutely first tiebreaker.
Well,
For tiebreaker, Sue.
Okay, so now we're mandatory, public health and safety, grant outside funding. So number 4, benefit from partial funding. Does that make sense since grant and outside funding is 3, or do you want to do something else as 4?
I'm fine with that.
And I think when you look at number 4, an influence on the cost due to deferral, if we have, I mean, if it's already been deferred 6 years and the cost keeps going up, I think that should be a number 3, maybe. I don't know. That's just my opinion, but
I just noticed health and safety's on there twice, public and then town employee health and safety.
Oh, no.
that means ventilation and stuff.
Yeah, like conditions inside the DPW versus something outside.
Do we need to have them separate? Why couldn't we just keep it health and safety?
Because it could be a bridge.
Yeah, I could see overall town public health and safety being more important than a employee health or safety in a tiebreaker scenario.
Really? Because that to me
I
says
don't know.
we don't care about our employees. We want a bridge.
And
I don't
part
know.
of it feels like,
Well, I don't think he's saying that, but I mean, how many people are using it? That's the thing. If it's going to kill more
Yeah,
citizens.
We're
than-
only going to kill a bunch of teachers. Asbestos is fine.
no, that's.
No, that's not what we're saying.
I mean, we're coming down. We're talking rankings here, so I mean,
know.
we're not making the final decisions.
I was just more
Yes,
thinking of the
anyways.
optics of it when I suggested putting them together. I was thinking of the optics of it.
Oh yes, they should be close to each other, but I could see them being a differentiator.
so do you want that to be number 4, where it's mandatory and then public health and safety, grant outside funding, and then employee health and safety? I kind of personally hate that. I think they should be next to each other, but
I agree.
what everybody else says.
They should be next to each other.
Okay,
Because if anybody looks at this, and they will,
yep.
the optics are just going to be not good. And
But these are major considerations. That's not, this isn't really ranking them.
Yeah, this form doesn't say we're ranking it this way.
Right. This is just considerations that we do.
well, it is ranking when you arrive at a final score.
No, but the sequence
The
does
sequence,
not actually imply value.
right.
Okay.
Right, but we're using it as a tiebreaker.
But
But I
we're
guess
not
it doesn't-
advertising that on the form. We're not
No,
actually saying
no.
it.
It's a public meeting, Jeremy.
I know. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, we're worried
So,
about how people
yeah.
are going to perceive this form. It's not on the form to perceive.
That's true.
Is
Yeah,
the
but it's in the
other-
minutes. So
course
But
it
I'm
is.
not
that's
sure.
also a good point. It probably doesn't matter what order we put these in, because
Right.
at the end of the day, when we're looking at the ones that are tied, we'll have all of their sheets in front of us and say, oh, well, that one was mandatory. It actually doesn't matter where it was in order. We'll see
Right.
it.
We're
So-
not going to be slaves to this order
Yeah.
if there's some
Perfect.
overriding thing we didn't consider.
So when we look at major considerations, out of all of these 10, is there something missing?
Well, I'm not sure that number 3 is different from number 2. So maybe we get rid of number 3 and we combine 6 and 7.
Yeah, I didn't really understand the difference between,
Partial funding could come from CPC money.
But that's outside funding.
Well, maybe we need to have a definition of what partial funding means then.
Yeah, but I'm trying to come up with one. Maybe it's already has funding versus eligibility for funding. We have it versus we could get it. It's the only thing I could come up with there.
Obviously, there's a distinction, if they put it that way, that it has nothing to do with grants or.
I think it could bolster a project, because if you have a grant, you're also going to get the benefit of partial funding. So that's going to boost your project higher, because you're going to get to say yes to that. And then the amount of partial funding is determined by number 2 of how much of a boost you'll get. Does that make sense?
Jeremy, you're thinking. Tell us what you're thinking.
No.
I
Trying to
see
look
the
at
wheels
something.
moving.
Yeah, it's because I opened my mouth. I had to get more oxygen in my brain. I think we don't want to oversubscribe ourselves to a process. I think we want to collect. I think the process is more important than the form is probably a better way of putting it. You know, the form should be as lean as it can be and capture
I
the data
agree.
we need.
I totally agree with that. This is pretty simplistic, but in order for me to say benefit from partial funding, I need to know what that means. And
Right. I don't
know what that means.
I don't see the value add of that.
Is it,
Like the library was a benefit of partial funding, right?
State funding. Maybe that's what it means from state funding.
But it was funding
But it was
nonetheless.
grant. It was still a grant.
Yeah.
It was a state grant.
Right, but you would still say yes to that, and then in number 2 you would circle how much. So all the projects that come out, I don't know.
I don't
But
know.
number 2 has a 0 and it has 3 non-zeros. So in a way, number 3 has just a yes and a no.
Yeah.
So I see number 3 is the binary version of number 2.
Right.
Number 2 is useful. If we have number 2, I think number 3 is redundant.
Yeah.
But
that was
see how you could do that score? You could have a 2 and a 3 where it's 2 A's or an A and a C, and that's how you're going to grade those 2 projects differently.
Well, as soon as you define what partial funding is, then I could grade it.
can
I'm
I,
just hung up on
Yeah,
what.
it's just giving more preference. It's actually adding a weighting to partial funding because it's giving you 2 draws. You're
What-
applying two sets of ranks to it, so it'll get points twice.
okay,
Right.
what if partial funding means, and this happens with the schools a lot, I have to replace the floors in 20 classrooms. In the request, we partially fund that. So they get
So
some.
it can be partially funded.
Correct. Can be
No.
partially funded. As in, instead of
Yeah,
submitting,
that's a very different statement.
Right.
So the project would benefit if it were partially funded, not the project benefits from being partially funded.
right.
Okay. I think I was getting there. So that makes sense.
So, and we've got, like I said, we've got projects like that, both in the
Yep.
town and on the, in
Right.
the schools.
So is this an all or nothing project, or can we fund it at 50% and do some stuff and do some stuff in another
That
stage?
makes sense to me.
I think that's
So
right. I don't know
it
if you
is
wanna-
equal.
So
Two.
put would benefit from partial funding, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or could,
Could,
Could.
yes.
it could, right?
benefit.
Is
Right.
this something we can fund part of, or do we have to buy the entire police car?
Right. Well, you have to buy the entire police car.
Exactly.
Right?
So a police car would be
Let's
D.
buy the tires and just forget about the engine.
Bad example.
Well, actually, no, it's a perfect example. A police car is
No, it would be
D.
a big, yeah, that would be an option.
Roofs,
Yeah, so a
funding
department,
5 roofs is A if you can do them individually.
right,
Right.
like we put a roof
Now,
in
that
a
makes sense
project.
to me, which is totally different from a grant.
Yeah, I get it.
I get it too. All right, I think that we should leave it at 3.
I agree. Well,
Yes, if we modify it accordingly, yep.
Yep.
To clarify the distinction.
I find it amusing, I guess, that relevancy to overall town goals is at the bottom.
It has the highest number. Maybe it's the most important.
It has, so that if you look at the options, it's either highly relevant, medium relevant, NA, or none.
None. There is
What
no
does that
low.
mean? I feel like
So no points for low is
You get-
basically what it means.
Low is none.
Yeah, low is
So-
none.
but D is really none, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's weird.
So if it's not at
Exactly.
least medium, then you get no points for it.
It's very subjective.
Yes. So I think that thing right there is what told me that yes, this is not something that should go out to town departments.
Oh,
Well, if the town has goals,
I was
It'd
gonna
be
ask,
it would be relevant.
I was gonna ask, I mean, is that even one that we want to have? Because Colleen's looking curiously smug over there. Is it, I mean, we have a strategic plan, right? And there are goals in it?
No,
No,
I know school department has the strategic
I-
plan.
I wasn't asking about us.
Oh, well, I know you do, but I've never heard one on the selectmen's.
Well, the select board just had a goal planning thing, so
That's
maybe
their
they have
goal.
one now.
Is
You're
it a
muted.
strategic plan?
Colleen, you're muted
You're muted.
Somehow.
somehow.
We got your facial expression though. You didn't.
There you are. I think I heard you. No, wait,
No,
no. And you're not muted.
yeah, she's not muted in.
Does anybody do sign or read sign?
You could use the chat. Oh, that's bad.
What happened to you?
I think she had an equipment failure. Do you want to go out? You want to give somebody else the hosting, go out and come back in? Sometimes that works.
Give it to Greg.
Poor
It's
Greg just
only one-
hosted a meeting.
Oh, that's right. Well, that's okay.
Oh, I'm the host now. I don't want that.
What
Oh,
happened to our chair?
what?
Where's our chair?
She left and she's going to come back.
Oh, okay.
Jeremy, did you take that photo yourself or is that a background?
No, that's a background.
Oh, darn it.
This is the photo when we were in the Arctic Circle.
Nice.
Connected audio.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
Again.
there we go.
I'm just not allowed to talk about goals. That's what happened there. No, we did have our goals meeting, but it's a two-part thing. So now Carter's gonna take what we talked about and bring it to department heads and digest it. And we're gonna come back and then really create goals.
It's quite
But are they goals for the town or are they goals for the board?
I think they're more goals for the board.
right. And I think it's the town administrator who usually sets the town goals, but, you know,
Yeah, so maybe we just kind of fly with what we think they are this year. So
well,
that's another thing.
it's-
By having two people score each one, we can say that's probably where we're going to have the most differences of opinion on the ranking.
We could also chuck that one too and just grade the 9 and not have a subjective, do we need to know if it falls in goals? Because we don't know.
Right, I agree. I think
Well,
if
or
you
is
had a
that,
defining document, that would be one thing, but
is that the ultimate tiebreaker after we do the weighting sheet?
Oh, yeah,
Two
just
things,
wait
two
to
things
fill it
are
out.
weighted the same. Because that is a subjective discussion and that's probably better for the group as a whole. You know, a discussion more than a singular ranking.
I like it.
Amy is
Amy doesn't.
not convinced.
Mhm.
I'm not because, so my idea of the goals for the town might not be the same as Sue's idea of the goals of the town.
And that's a point to discuss.
but that doesn't
But the-
necessarily mean that the school's goals aren't the town's goals.
No, I'm talking me personally.
But the rest of the rankings are fairly objective, are
Yeah,
they not?
we may not- yeah, I would think so.
So I think the subjectivity should be there. I'm not saying we eliminate it, but it becomes more of the group discussion
Right.
when we're reviewing it at the end. You know, we sort of filter it along objective lines first, and then if somebody says, I know this is ranked here, but it feels like it should be up here, and here's why I think that. That's essentially that conversation.
Yes,
That's my thought.
I agree. Sorry, I'm trying to find my daughter.
Relative to town goals like they've been doing on Route 30 or down the Main Street, there might be a capital project that be relevant to that project. So that would be a town goal, right?
Sure. I mean, anything supporting broadening the tax base would obviously, to me, seem to be supporting a town goal.
Yep.
Because we need that. We know we need that. It's kind of an unstated. All right.
So the good news is we have some more time, but everybody kind of agreed that we liked that second document. So I'll send that out so we can all have, we liked the submission form, so I'll send that out. We have time to hone in how our scoring system. We'll also try to get Peter in so we can show him what we have and he can give us some wisdom from years past and we can try to meld it all together. The biggest thing is scheduling future meetings. It's
Right.
going to be crucial, especially in November, and quorums are a historically big issue with this committee. We just don't, we can't have it. So the next meeting, again, we got invited to is tomorrow with CPC. Next week, we got invited to the Finance Committee meeting on the 30th at 8 o'clock. So Sue, you'll obviously be there. I said I would attend. Does anybody else want to attend that? And I can get you an invite.
I can be there.
Let me see.
You can be there too, Greg.
Yep.
I know.
Although we have the same conflict we had tonight.
Yeah, but we'll be able to go earlier. It'll be
Yeah,
fine.
as long as it's 8 o'clock, we're good.
I know Barry Smith had a concern about the bylaw about reporting, but I think Carter kind of handled it, but he'll probably bring it up at the public hearing. So
Okay.
was nothing, you know.
Is that the part where it's tracking the funded? Was that what he means by reporting?
Yeah,
All right.
I think. I'm never not sure about Barry. I'll say, I think that's what he's getting at, but
Okay. So if we can all pull out our calendars and let's look at October real quick. I know the select board has 7 meetings scheduled in October alone.
Whoa.
oh my God.
Yep. And finance committee, I'm sure, is going to be starting to rev up as well.
Well, Finance Committee's October 1st, October 6th. October
Yes.
1st, October 6th, that's where and then we have, that's it. And then there's a joint meeting on the 15th with the select board, tentatively set, I guess.
Yeah. Select board is also the 1st and the 6th.
Busy.
And school committee is,
So how does Wednesdays looking for everybody? Are Wednesdays a busy day?
So far, October is open for Wednesdays
Okay. So
for me. And
let's, the hard part is I know Peter. Let me see if Peter can come in on, it'll be closer to the end of October, October 21st or 28th. I'll reach out to him and try to schedule that. Let's try to meet again one more time before we meet with Peter, just to make sure we are fully aligned with what we want. And that way, when we take his information, we're ready to go. Maybe start deciding about, I don't know what else we want to decide, but maybe, do you guys want to say October 14th and October 28th?
Yep,
Yep.
that works for me.
same time.
You guys like 8 o'clock? Was 8 o'clock helpful?
It is helpful for us.
Especially
is.
for Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Sure.
We have volunteering at the local cat shelter. And we used to go at like 6 and then I would have a meeting at 7 and we'd be like, we wouldn't have enough time, but 8 is fine.
Yeah, I like 8. If everybody likes 8, eight's my favorite. Okay.
I'll be
And
on
then
time next time.
What, Jeremy?
I'll be on time next time.
I got your phone number now, so I know you will. And
Yeah,
then
yours too.
November, how do you guys want to do that? Because that's when we should hopefully have all of the information and it's going to be crunch time. So I'm willing to go out on a limb and say like November 2nd, that first Monday, maybe have a meeting lined up, or maybe the 4th because of election day. I don't know.
I'm thinking not Monday because Amy and I are working the election, so we need to be there at 6:15 Tuesday morning.
Cool. So let's say the 4th. Is everybody okay with the 4th?
So far,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And if we want to go earlier because you want to do more work, we can do that if we have the notice. Like I can tell Ainsley, don't work that day so that you could take your sister, to go do the kitty cats and we don't have to worry about it.
Have
I
a
know.
lot of work. Can we start a little earlier then?
That's what I'm thinking. We can
So-
go early.
Yeah, so let's do November 4th at 7 o'clock, because what that night's gonna be is, did we get the submission forms? How many submission forms did we get? What each department, so it won't be a ton of work, it'll be starting to divvy up the work.
Right.
And I think if we start at 7, that should give us plenty of time.
Right.
I personally, I would love to schedule them out for the rest of November, but I'm also hesitant too because of the holidays and COVID and everything else that could happen. But
And we have 2 people that aren't here.
and we have 2 people that aren't here. I think I want to do one more after the 4th, so that has us 4 meetings in the books to just get us going.
So when do we submit to Carter?
He wants it by December 1st.
Okay.
So November 30th, Monday, December 30th would be the absolute last day to put everything together.
And that would be
And the
our-
week before that is Thanksgiving.
Awesome, right?
and the
so-
18th, I can't do.
The what?
The 18th, if we wanted to do that, I can't do because I have a leader meeting that night again.
Okay.
Is the 11th open for people?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can do the 11th. Yep.
You guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll
Veterans Day.
is that okay?
Yeah.
for you, Bill? Okay. So I'm gonna say tentatively 7 o'clock again on the 11th, but maybe on the 4th, once we see something, we might say, you know what, 6 o'clock's better, or, we'll be flexible with that. But that at least gets us 4 new meetings in the books that we can all start preparing to do and plans to do that. So the 14th will be again just to finalize, review everything that we talked about tonight. The 28th we'll have Peter in, hopefully, or possibly the 14th. I'll offer him both of those days and see what works better for him. And then November, we hit the ground running with submissions. Does that work? Do you guys want to see the guidelines that I'm gonna send to Carter about how to fill out the submission forms?
Yes.
Yes, please. Because we may get asked those questions from department heads.
All right. Let's check my share screen ability if I'm that good.
Oh, I thought you were just going to send it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll just
send
send it. Mhm.
You don't have to share it with us right now.
Good. That's what I'll do. So we will share that.
Did you see how relieved she was with that?
I feel you, Colleen. I had similar issues on the meeting I was just on. I was like, oh, I have to run this one. This is, yeah.
Sharing screen is scary. You just don't know, read to self could come up, and that's not what I want to share.
Do I have the right tab open? Oops.
That's why they have that whole disclaimer at the beginning about sharing your screen.
Yeah.
Did I read that? I don't
Yeah,
know.
you did.
You did.
Oh, good.
I think so.
All right, so let's move on to minutes. Did everybody get a chance to review your minutes?
Yep.
Great. So I'll take a motion for the 6th and the 19th.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Should I say the real date then? Okay, motion for August 6th and August 19th. So moved. Okay.
Oh, second.
All right, so by roll call, Greg,
Yes.
Amy,
Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Colleen, aye. Okay, so those passed. I will remember to send those to the clerks tomorrow, not forget again. Does anybody have anything else that I missed that they want to talk about? Great, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Somebody else. Okay, great. Greg,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Jeremy,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Colleen, aye. Good night.